It's Monday, which of course means another mock draft Monday here on the channel. This is post East-West Shrine Game and the Senior Bowl just before the Super Bowl. Should be a fun one. It's a 2-round special today, and let's go ahead and jump right in. Went Abdul Carter at number 1 of the Titans last week, and I've done that before. This video is sponsored by Underdog. The big game is coming up. Wonder what that could mean. And you can get a no-sweat bonus. Cash in on a big game entry or get bonus credit back. Underdog is offering a lot of specials for the big game. If you live in one of these states, you're eligible to play Pick'em. Green, you have New Hampshire, Massachusetts. You can play Champions if you can't play Classic like you can in Vermont and New York just above me. Rhode Island's an option as well. And they're offering a new customer free pick. Travis Kelce to get 1 yard or more. Swifties are going to love that. For me, I've got this Super Bowl thing cooking. Big game, no sweat. So that's already been applied. I'm good to go here. Saquon higher, 1.5 catches. Isaiah Pacheco lower, 23.5 rushing yards. He just hasn't been that good coming back from injury. It's going to be a Kareem Hunt special, I would say. Might make another entry with Kareem Hunt. And then Jalen Hurts lower, 213.5 passing yards. I think they're going to try and lean on Saquon Barkley. Call me crazy, but the Steve Spagnuolo weird blitzes on third down, I think, lead to some Saquon Barkley catches. He's pretty much getting at least 2 a game. Obviously, not consistent, but he's going to be facing some exotic blitzes. I think that leads for options for receivers out of the backfield to catch the ball, like the running back, Saquon Barkley. Also have a weird season-long entry here. It's $2 to win 110. Whatever. If Mike Trout stays healthy, there's a chance he hits the most home runs. Chris Sale, I don't know that he's going to stay healthy. I do baseball, have a second channel, Bengal Plays, but that's not about this. This is Underdog. Use code BENGAL. Link is down in the description. Take advantage of the new customer free pick, the big game, no sweat special where you can cash in on a big game entry or get bonus credit back. Use code BENGAL. Link is down in the description. And let's win a little bit on the big game. Not going to do it today because I do think there's just still a chance that they need a quarterback. They're picking at number 1 overall. How often are you in that position? If you think Cam Ward has a chance to be that franchise quarterback, I do think there's a better than not chance that he will end up being the pick. Although, as I've said before, this isn't a great quarterback class, and that's true of the guys even at the top. Abdul Carter is just a better player overall than a Cam Ward, and I feel that about Travis Hunter as well. Just the difference is, if Cam Ward works out, he's going to be infinitely more valuable than an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter because he plays quarterback. It's the most important position in the league, and that is why he will be the first overall pick here today. But I think I'm going to end up mixing that up as I usually do. But things are also interesting in Cleveland. I've had this pick for a while, but it looks even more true today as Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Put out a short about that. Tweeted about it quite a bit as well. There are a lot of teams that make sense. I'm not going to predict any type of a trade before we actually get it. Because at this point, there's so many teams that fit. He wants to go to a contender. Well, there are a lot of options. I think you can even start with the 49ers needing help off the edge, right? Could the Cowboys be in consideration to move something for Myles Garrett? I don't think it's going to be 2 or 3 first-round picks. I don't think so. Myles Garrett is approaching 30, unbelievable player and talent, but I don't think you can compare it to a Khalil Mack trade that happened back in 2017, 2018. The league has changed a lot. I don't think that's comparable. I don't think that's going to be the precedent. If you look at what the Panthers got back for Brian Burns, it was a second-round pick. Okay, congrats. Now, Myles Garrett is a significantly better player than Brian Burns, but are you really going to get 2 or 3 first-round picks back for him when the Browns are terrible? He wants to go to a contender, supposedly, and the Browns really don't have any leverage because he's requested a trade. So a lot of things factor into that value going down a little bit. He's an incredible player. I just don't know that you're going to see 2 or 3 first-round picks. I think it could be like a 1 plus a 2 or a 3 or multiple 2/3, a player involved. I don't think you're going to see 3 first-round picks. I don't even think you're going to see 2 first-round picks. But we shall see. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm offering 12 and maybe something else in order to get Myles Garrett. And there are a lot of teams. Falcons, maybe even the Cardinals. The Bengals absolutely would make sense, but it's in division, so it makes it less likely. I think he's probably going to end up on an NFC team. I like the Bucs as an option. I like the Packers as an option, but I don't think the Packers are going to be making that trade happen. I know they need an upgraded pass rush. Just seems like they think they're happy with their pass rush, and maybe it's a coaching issue, which I guess we'll see. Don't think the Ravens because of an in-division fit, and I think obviously the Lions are the team that makes the absolute most sense. And the Eagles, they could be as well. That would be a nightmare. But Abdul Carter, he would have been a great combo with Myles Garrett, who could still stay in Cleveland, I guess. They don't have to grant his trade request, but he's also a really great replacement. If there ever is a replacement for a player of Myles Garrett's caliber, Abdul Carter is going to be close as a prospect, but it's an impossible player to replace. It's like trying to replace Aaron Donald. The Rams have done a good job in that, but you're not going to get close to Aaron Donald. You have a multitude of players that maybe come even somewhere remotely close to his individual value. Giants at 3. I'd love for this to be Travis Hunter, but at the end of the day, the Giants really need a quarterback. And although I don't believe personally in needing a quarterback equals drafting a quarterback if the QB is not good enough, which is kind of how I feel about this class, Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants, Brian Daboll, trying to extend their jobs. You're not just going to get the best player potentially to set up the future GM. I think they think they're going to need a quarterback. They've done a lot of work with Shedeur Sanders, and the Giants have thrown out smoke screens in the past under this regime. I just think they desperately need a quarterback, and I think you're likely to see them take one. Hunter's a better player. There are, a lot of better players in this class, but Shedeur Sanders is the pick at 3. Again, if it works out, you get a really good fit, but I think he's limited with his arm. I don't think it's going to play necessarily all that well in cold weather conditions in New York, but Shedeur Sanders is the pick. If it works out, it's great. I'd be ecstatic if it works out, but that's a big if. Quarterbacks, obviously, it's tough to get those guys to actually develop and be top tier guys. How many QBs are actually not upgradable in the league? Like 10 or 15 at the absolute most. Patriots at number 4. Best player available, Travis Hunter. Somebody said, what about the Patriots for Myles Garrett? Huh? I don't think so. Patriots shouldn't be motivated to trade picks. Doesn't really make sense. And why would Myles Garrett want to go to the Patriots right now? They're not exactly a Super Bowl contender. They do have a super awesome young quarterback to be excited about in Drake May, but they're not a Super Bowl contender right now, and I don't think if you're a Patriots fan, you want to trade the number 4 overall pick for Myles Garrett. He's a great player, but I just don't think that's worth it for them financially or from a team-building perspective. You need your picks right now. You can't trade a bunch of them in order just to get one guy, as good as that one guy might be. Jags at number 5. Going Mason Graham here for Michigan. I think it's maybe just best player available. Rock solid interior defensive lineman. And I know the Jags are not exactly terrible there, but they're not good. I had someone like, they have Arden Key. And I'm like, first of all, Arden Key does not play on the Jaguars. Second of all, he's not an interior defensive lineman. I don't know what we're talking about. Jordan Jefferson in the mix, that was not a good pick. Trent Baalke's fired now. They could certainly use an upgrade on the interior defensive line. I like Mason Smith for the future. Mason and Mason could be a really nice combo. Graham, especially great against the run. Smith has that big-time pass rush upside. I like it. Raiders at number 6. No quarterback to take here. I'm seeing a lot of hype about Jackson Dart. I just don't see it. I would be surprised if he got into the first. There's hype about that now. Daniel Jeremiah had him as his 41st best player on his top 50. I just don't see it. And I would have a hard time saying that the Raiders would take him at number 6. When you start to get into the second round, some of these guys become a little bit more likely. Maybe a Jalen Milroe because of his upside, even though I don't love the prospect or the player right now. Will Howard had a great run down the stretch. Jackson Dart, I guess, in that mix as well. Tyler Shuck had a great Senior Bowl, and he was a former super hyped up prospect. Big body, big arm. Maybe there's something there down the board. Tyler Shuck could be a name to actually look out for, but man, not at 6. Not at 6 for any of these guys, I don't think. So maybe just go best player available, and I think that's going to be Ashton Genty here. Chip Kelly, new offensive coordinator, one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid coordinator in the National Football League, higher paid than Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And he knows what good running backs can do. Had Travion Henderson, had Quinshon Judkins most recently at Ohio State. And maybe you try to wait for one of those guys in round 2, but Genty is just a really, really, really good running back prospect. You get him for his prime, plus the 5th-year option for being a first-round pick. That's 5 years of prime Ashton Genty, who's an unbelievable running back prospect. And with no quarterbacks available, maybe you don't want to take Teteroa McMillan with this pick. You go Genty here at 6. I know it's a deep running back class, so you can afford to wait, but Genty is a tier above these other guys without question. Jets at number 7. Just looking at their edge group, it's not especially strong. I'm going to go with Michael Williams here. His potential is just absolutely insane. You're going to get Jermaine Johnson back from injury, but not especially excited about a lot of what they have there long term. And I think you need to upgrade, especially with a great long-term option like Michael Williams. 6'5", 265, played hurt the entire year and still played pretty well. He's another one of these athletic freaks that I think ends up going pretty high in the draft. He's a really, really talented player. I would have a pretty hard time believing he falls out of the top 16, and I think it's almost more likely that he goes in the top 10. I think the Jets are a pretty good landing spot here at number 7. He's a really good player who, just like some of these quarterbacks, if he works out, he is a game-wrecking potential player. He's got a ton of upside, but he's also good right now. He's not a huge project. He's good right now. Just needs to not be hurt, which hopefully over an offseason and then into his rookie year he wouldn't be, right? Carolina Panthers at number 8. I think you have some options here. I think Teteroa McMillan is a decent shout, but I still just really like the fit of Jalen Walker here in Carolina. He's a North Carolina kid going back to North Carolina. He's a really, really athletic player. I mean, a lot of these mock drafts, I'm like, hey, Frankie Louvu role would be a really good fit for Jalen Walker. He's really good as a pass rusher, but that's not really all he can do. His best fit has been off the edge. He's a freak athlete, and I mean, gave Texas a really, really tough time in their games. He is a freak. Back-to-back Georgia edge rushers, kind of, but Walker can also be, he's a great QB spy because he's just such an athletic freak. And it's just a really good fit there for the Panthers. They also say high character, high work ethic guy, leader. I think that's a really good pickup for a locker room that really is missing a lot, especially on that defensive side of the ball. Super young team, though, as well. I think Walker is a good fit there long term. Saints at number 9. A big-bodied receiver has just kind of fallen to you, and that's what the New Orleans Saints are missing on the offensive side of the ball. I usually go defensive line here, but just based on McMillan being available and trying to develop a quarterback in there, maybe it's Spencer Rattler. Either way, you could use some actual size and ability to play on the outside at wide receiver, and I think Teteroa McMillan offers you that. Will he fall to 9? Will he fall even further than this? Potential. But I think it's a really good fit in New Orleans, who, again, they're searching for that big-bodied receiver. They're a Michael Thomas type of guy. Not to say that Teteroa McMillan is Michael Thomas, but big-bodied receiver that they've been missing there in New Orleans since Michael Thomas. At number 10, you know where I'm going with this probably. It's the Chicago Bears taking Will Campbell. Need an upgrade on the offensive line. Maybe there's a chance he can stick a tackle, but you got a really good starting caliber guard here that can be a swing tackle in an emergency, or maybe just try and stick him at tackle until he can't. Like that's what, Rashawn Slater was able to do at a Northwestern. I think Campbell's going to have shorter arms than Rashawn Slater, but he's played tackle at a high level. I do have some concerns about how he's going to adapt to the NFL level based on how he was able to handle speed rushers and some of the bendier edge rushers that he would go against. At the college level, you're going to face a few of those a year maybe. In the NFL, it's every game, right? The worst NFL player on a roster was likely one of the best players on his college team, if not the best in a lot of places. So, you never know how that transition's going to go. But Campbell does have pretty good tape, or rock solid tape, really, for the most part. Again, the speed is kind of the thing that concerned me, and I think with his lack of arm length, I really question how much he's going to be able to control pass rushers at the next level. But that's why maybe he could be an all-pro type of guard. But stick him a tackle until he can't do it. The Bears need an upgrade there. It's just kind of an easy fit. As we get to the Niners at 11, and Will Johnson's just kind of there. Really, really good player. There are questions coming up about his overall athleticism and speed now, but he's got great size, great ball skills. If he tests well at the combine, I think he's a top 10 pick, and I'm probably going to start throwing him back to the Jags at number 5. But for right now, he drops to 11, and the Niners could certainly use an upgrade at corner. I like Charvarius Ward a lot, but they need another boundary in a big way, and Johnson's got great size and great ball skills. He's a potential top 5 player in this draft. You get him here at number 11. Kind of seems like a no-brainer. Cowboys at 12. Keeping him in state against my wishes, it's Kelvin Banks. Ryan Schottenheimer, new head coach of the Cowboys. A strong offensive line is going to be super important there for a lot of teams, but Dallas really, especially with what Schottenheimer wants to do. Banks, I think, could stick at left tackle, which is what he was at Texas, and then that would move over the first-round pick Tyler Guyton from last year back to a more natural right tackle, but Banks could also end up playing guard. I like Tyler Smith a lot at left guard, but Zach Martin long-term, what's he going to be in Dallas? Going to retire soon, you'd think. Banks could maybe play that right tackle spot, but right now we're taking him as a left tackle, pushing Guyton over to that right side, which is more natural for him if you watch him at TCU and Oklahoma. Dolphins at 13. This is an interesting one for me. I think I'm going to end up changing this from what I've had, or what I did have when I did this in advance. I just think the fit makes a little bit more sense. No, I'm gonna actually stick to it. I'm going to go Tyler Booker here. He's getting a lot of hype right now. Another rock-solid type prospect on the offensive line, like Will Campbell, but at guard. And a lot of people seem to really like him. He is really solid. I've seen a few games from him. Nothing that was super overwhelming in terms of movement ability, but just seems to be a solid player on the interior. And for the Dolphins, you look at that team, guard is a really weak position. I think you could look to upgrade tackle as well, especially with the injury concerns that you get all the time with Teron Armstead. But Booker is a really, really solid player. I think it's going to be tough to miss here with him. So high floor type of player. Dolphins who look to upgrade the trenches, grab a good one. Colts at 14. He's been going higher in a lot of other mock drafts recently. I just still find it hard to believe that a tight end is going to end up going top 10. When he's not as dynamic as Kyle Pitts was as a prospect. However, I just see Brock Bowers going at 12 or 13. How is Tyler Warren going to go ahead of Brock Bowers? But he's a different type of a player. He's a true inline tight end that can block, and that is especially good as a real focus of an offense as a receiving tight end. He's a really, really awesome option. Very different player from Colston Loveland, but I think just a great fit here for the Colts. I know I do this like every week, but if he's on the board and it's tough to get a tight end off the board earlier, just makes a lot of sense to the Indianapolis Colts there at 14. Maybe the Jets, I guess if you want to be crazy, maybe the Jags at 5, but no. I think the Jets at 7 is the absolute highest he goes, and maybe you talk about the Panthers, the Saints. I think the Bears even could consider it, but unlikely. Some people think the Cowboys should be in position to do that. I don't really think that given their tight end depth, they need to do that, but I guess it's an option. And then the Dolphins, I think, could as well. But Warren here falls to 14, which I just think is about his range anyway, and ends up being a good fit. Get Anthony Richardson all the help you can get him and really see if it can work. If you put all the pieces around him to be successful and he still can't be, then you know for sure, okay, it's time to make an adjustment. But if he, his best case scenario is Josh Allen. Absolute best case scenario. Likely will never happen, but absolute best case scenario. Josh Allen was really bad as a rookie, not that good as a second-year player, and then kind of actually broke out as a passer in year 3. Anthony Richardson has started so few games in the NFL so far. I'm giving him a chance if I'm the Colts. You invested a top 5 pick. Get him as much help as you possibly can and truly see if there's no chance. It's not looking great right now, but get him as much help as you can and really see if you have something. Falcons at 15. I'm going with a player that could end up going a lot higher on draft night. It's Texas A&M's Shamar Stewart. Had a big-time Senior Bowl, and if you watch him on tape, he's a freak as well. Shouldn't have been too much of a surprise. Came in at just under 6'6", 281, I think, at the Senior Bowl. But to move the way he can at 280, 281, oh my God. The guy is an absolute freak. The Falcons need help really all over the defensive line. And when you have someone that can start off the edge and be freaky as an edge rusher and then slide inside and overwhelm and dominate interior offensive linemen with speed and power, you have a special type of talent there. And Shamar Stewart, I know you don't expect them to go edge here very high in the draft under Terry Fontenot, but man, it feels like it could be an awesome fit if he's there at 15, and he might not make it here. This could be a top 10 guy. The same way I have Mike Hill-Williams at 7. Who's to say that's not Shamar Stewart? I think there's a decent chance. Cardinals at 16. Going to the interior defensive line and going with Walter Nolan. He has big-time potential, former top recruit, as I keep reminding you guys. Had a really nice Senior Bowl as well. He is explosive as hell. And you look at the Cardinals, I think, yes, they do need to upgrade the edge, but I think you're maybe going to count on a healthy Darius Robinson and a healthy B.J. Ojulari and potentially able to retain Baron Browning. Maybe edge is less of a need, but the interior defensive line, some real pass rush ability from that spot could be incredibly valuable for the Arizona Cardinals, and you go Nolan here at 16. Bengals at 17. Going with another Senior Bowl standout, it's Mike Green. Came in a little bit over 250, I think 251. Still looked explosive as hell. I mean, bullied Josh Connerly on a rep in one-on-ones. But, bull rush in a one-on-one into one rep. It's not anything crazy, but I think he was winning the entire weekend. Opted out early because of the entire week of practices. He opted out because of just how well he was performing. He proved everything he had to. Arms are a little bit short, but I don't necessarily think that that's the way he wins as a pass rusher. I'm not especially worried about it. The hands are so good. The athleticism is so good. He plays with such great leverage. He's great against the run. I think Mike Green is a really great talent. For a team that needs to upgrade their pass rush outside of Trey Hendrickson, Mike Green feels like a really great fit. Seattle Seahawks at 18. John Schneider is not taking a guard here. Although, is he? I'm going to go Armand Membu from Mizzou. Membu has played right tackle for Mizzou, and that could be a role that he plays for Seattle. He could do that. I mean, can you rely on the health of Abraham Lucas? I'm not sure. Membu could come in and play right tackle, but if you have a healthy Abraham Lucas, Armand Membu can just play guard. And now Schneider's, well, we didn't draft him to be a guard, but it's just a best fit to play the best 5 or whatever. I know he says that guard is the most overpaid, overdrafted position in the league. This is kind of like a workaround because you're drafting a tackle that can play guard. They got to upgrade the offensive line. Yes, you can do it in free agency, but guard's getting more expensive than ever. And if John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, is already saying how overpaid that position is, guess what? In order to get good players, you got to pay. You have to pay. And the position's getting more and more expensive. It's becoming unavoidable. What's the way to get cheaper players there? Draft them. Membu offers you a guy that can stick a tackle or play guard and do so at a high level. Bucks at 19. Going back to the well here. It's one of my favorite picks to make. It is Jahad Campbell, potentially losing multiple linebackers to free agency, including Levante David, who's an all-time great for the Bucks. It's going to be a shame. He's going to be a Hall of Very Good type of guy, over Hall of Fame probably. But man, what a talent he's been over the years. Should be in the Bucks Hall of Fame for sure. Won a Super Bowl there. Whether he's retained or not, he's into his mid-30s. Jahad Campbell is both way younger, obviously, but super explosive. Can come down and thump against the run. Can blitz. Was recruited as a 5-star edge rusher to Alabama. There's prospect recruit prestige here as well. Had a big-time season for Bama. Can cover. And he's got some rare traits for a guy at 245 pounds. Jahad Campbell, I think, ends up going top 20. If Jack Campbell was number 18, Jahad Campbell's going to go top 20, I think. It's a different class, but this class isn't all that good. So Campbell, I think, makes a lot of sense there to the Bucks at 19. And I know they need edge. I know they need DB. Just not sure the value is necessarily there. Edge will be available with their second-round pick. And you're going to get somebody talented at that spot, whether it's Kennard or Tuimoloau. Maybe Princely Uman Mielen gets there. I think Ezeraku will go earlier. I could see Scorton honestly getting there. I could see Sawyer getting there. I could see Landon Jackson getting there. I think Birch and Stewart will be available. And Stewart in Tampa, actually, I think is a really great fit. A little bit undersized, but juice off the edge for days. And we've seen that work for Tampa here recently. Bucks fans will know exactly who I'm talking about with Yaya Diaby. But we'll get to the Broncos at number 20. Would Sean Payton not love to snipe Jim Harbaugh here and take Colston Loveland at number 20? I've had Loveland fall oftentimes to 22, but you look at the Broncos, who could use a slot receiver probably. They could use a tight end. Tough to find a better fit than Colston Loveland for both of those roles. He's not really an inline tight end. He's not really that guy. That's not really his game. Same thing for Fannin, really. This is a guy that should operate in the slot and be a dynamic receiving mismatch for you. And for the Broncos, for Bo Nix, man, Loveland feels like a great fit to just terrorize defenses up the seam. Really, really good player. Obviously, with bad quarterback play this past season at Michigan, didn't really produce a ton. Makes you kind of have a little bit more respect for J.J. McCarthy, maybe. But Loveland here feels like a great fit there in Denver. Steelers at 21. I mean, if he's available at 21, I think you're running in the card. It's Luther Burden from Mizzou. Burden is a stud. I love him as a player. He can win in the slot. I think he can play the Z. I think it's a great fit with George Pickens there already in Pittsburgh. Burden's a reliable option that can, again, terrorize you from the slot. And, Loveland, I said that about as well. Burden does it in a little bit of a different way, but he's also a slot fade king. He's great after the catch. Love Luther Burden. And I think the fact of the matter is that if the Steelers' offense is going to get more dynamic, you need better players. And Burden, I think, is a great, great fit. This is not giving up on Roman Wilson, but Wilson, despite being undersized, is not necessarily a slot guy. That's a guy who kills you with speed on the outside. So I think that Burden is just a natural fit into this offense. I know they don't draft receiver round 1, but I think when a player like Burden makes it to 21, LB3 is just the pick. As we get to the Chargers at 22, Jim Harbaugh gets his guy. Whatever. Jim Harbaugh gets his Michigan man, Kenneth Grant, freak on the interior. He's like 6'6", 340, really good athlete. I say 6'6". Hopefully I didn't say that. He's 6'3" or 6'4", but is a freak on the interior. Big time speed for a guy of his size, especially once he gets moving. And is good against the run. So it feels like a really good fit there in Los Angeles. Yes, they need more weapons on offense, but Grant here is just too much to pass up for a team that loves to win in the trenches. Packers at 23. Going with my guy out of Texas. Hook 'em horns, Jahdae Barron. Just a great DB to add to the room. I think the Packers have loved their versatility, and I think Barron definitely gives you that, but he's shown that he can play on the boundary after this past season at Texas winning the Thorpe Award. Will that translate to the NFL? I think he's really more of a nickel, to be honest. But I love him as a player. I think sometimes you just go out and get the best guy for you, and Jahdae Barron is just a good fit there in Green Bay. Really, really good player, maybe the best player available, in fact. And the Packers upgrade their secondary at 23. Vikings at 24. Going to their interior here and going with Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Love him as a player. He was awesome on the interior, a guy that can actually rush the passer. I think you just look at what the Vikings currently have on that defensive line. The interior is not good. I like what they have on the edge. Jonathan Grenard's a great player. Van Ginkel gives you some versatility. Can rush the passer a little bit. What do they have on the interior? You're starting Jerry Tillery. It's not great. Derek Harmon is a big upgrade. I know you could use guard, for sure. Running back, I think he addressed in the second round. Derek Harmon is a really good pickup here at 24. Texans at 25. I think you'd love to upgrade the offensive line here, but I don't think you're really taking a tackle. You have Laramie Tunsil. I know they like Blake Fisher. I just don't think it's a pickup they're going to make. So you're looking at guard, which is Gray Zabel, Donovan Jackson, potentially Wyatt Milam, Jonas Avaiinaya, Marcus Bowe. These are options. But CJ Stroud, Emeka Ibuka teaming back up, losing a lot at receiver, going to be no more Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, big injury. receiver becomes a huge need, and Emeka Ibuka teaming back up with CJ Stroud feels like a really good fit as we move to the Rams at 26. And here I'm going to go Josh Simmons. Would go a lot higher than this if not for injury. Rams look to upgrade tackle. I really can't blame them in this spot. As we get to the Ravens at 27, a lot of good players here. Malachi Starks has fallen all the way down the board. James Pierce is here. I'm gonna do maybe an unpopular selection, but I think he's such a good player that I really actually like the fit. It's Malachi Starks. Hear me out. Marcus Williams has not been very good in Baltimore recently. It's unfortunate they paid him a lot of money. Kyle Hamilton, while he has been a good slot guy, they had to push him back to safety. And I don't really think they wanted to have to do that. His best role actually was in the slot so far in the NFL. Getting a do-it-all safety in the back end like Malachi Starks, I think kind of reminds you of how great Kyle Hamilton has been. I think they're going to love the versatility. Just adding versatile, instinctive, and athletic safeties, or DBs in general, that's a recipe for success. The Ravens got killed through the air last year. And yes, upgrading your pass rush is super important. It's a really talented defensive line class. Malachi Starks is just here at 27. It feels like an unbelievable pickup. A lot of people believe James Pierce is going to fall. So maybe the Ravens decide to pass on him because he is light. He's undersized at 240 pounds. So Malachi Starks probably shouldn't be here, but after a down 2024, after an unbelievable 2023, maybe he drops a bit and the Ravens get an absolute steal, as it seems like they always do here in the first round of the NFL draft. And then maybe at 28, the Lions turn in the card for James Pierce. It's like, why would the Lions do it if the Ravens wouldn't do it? It's completely different. Both teams have different needs. The Ravens actually ended up with a lot of sacks last year, which was kind of surprising to me. But maybe they think they don't need to upgrade pass rush here at 27. Maybe you continue to try and develop David Ojabo. Owe kind of came on strong. Kyle Van Noy is a good player. But, I mean, Malachi Starks just shouldn't really be there, and he's here because players fall in the draft all the time. For the Lions, they really do need help off the edge. They value production. James Pierce Jr. feels like a really good fit. And, man, he and Aiden Hutchinson talk about a tandem. A lot of T's here for the Tennessee edge rusher. Washington Commanders at 29. Josh Connerly's on the board. I know he got absolutely ran over on one rep by Mike Green, but the tape's pretty good. He's in play to be one of the first true tackles off the board in the 2025 NFL draft. And everyone at the Senior Bowl that participated said he was actually the best offensive lineman there. He had one bad rep, really. Got beat a couple times. Everyone's going to in one-on-ones. But overall, he was as good as you're going to find for an offensive tackle there at the Senior Bowl. Was a really, really good player who had one viral rep. So not really too upset about that. I think he's definitely in play to be a first-round pick and maybe higher than this. The Commanders get an upgrade, a young upgrade here at 29 as we move on to the Bills at 30. And I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. Feels like a great pickup here. He's a great receiver. Hook him, of course. Great hands, can get open. Again, he doesn't really drop the football, and I think is dynamic after the catch. The Bills need more playmakers, especially guys that can catch the football. Matthew Golden feels like a great fit there. Eagles at 31. Going with Nick Scorton here. I think there's a decent chance he gets in round 2, but if he can shed some of the bad weight that he added in 2024, get back to 2023 Nick Scorton, you have someone that can really rush the passer. He's got good size overall as well. Feels like a great, great fit in the Philly defense. You're likely going to be losing at least Milton Williams, maybe Josh Sweat as well. They need to upgrade on the edge, defensive line in general. Scorton here is certainly an option. As we get to the Chiefs at 32, going with a player that I don't think would be here without for injury, or with, aside from injury. And he might not even still get here, factoring in that injury. He could go a lot earlier than this. It's Savone Revel from ECU. Unreal size and speed combo and cover ability. I think the Chiefs could just look to upgrade their secondary. Revel is a great option as we get into round 2. This is where things get interesting because the Browns have options. They need a quarterback. They didn't take one at 2, went for Abdul Carter, right? What quarterback are you taking? I mean, it's Milroe or Dart, right? I don't know that they're going to necessarily be sold enough to take one here at 33. So then it pretty much comes down to tackle or running back for me. And some of the tackles are good. Like Jackson, maybe you could stick a tackle after what he was able to do, but is probably guard. Ariante Ursary is in that conversation, I guess. But, man, this running back class is really good. Some of these guys could end up going in round 1. Amarion Hampton's there at 33. We're just going to take him. Love Amarion Hampton as a player. 6'1", 220, power, speed, bulldozer running back. Don't know about the future of Nick Chubb in Cleveland. A lot of injuries are adding up. He's approaching 30. It's time to consider an upgrade, and that would be Amarion Hampton long-term. Great player here going to the Browns at 33. Giants at 34. Went with a quarterback at number 3. Could get him some weapons. Just not thrilled about the receivers available. And I don't need a tight end necessarily. I think you're looking more at corner. And I like Florida State's Azariah Thomas a lot. He's got good size. Had a good week at the Senior Bowl as well. He's a press man corner. I think he's going to be a nice complementary piece alongside Deonte Banks. I think you need to upgrade a corner. Thomas is a pretty good fit in the Giants defense. And it's a big position of need as well, which I think you start to consider there at 34. Titans at 35. Going with a pass rusher. That is Boston College. Donovan Ezeraku was incredibly dominant this past season at Boston College. Was a real true breakout. Has long arms, decent overall size, and as a 3-4 outside linebacker type, Ezeraku has real potential to be maybe close to a double-digit sack guy. And at 35, I think that's pretty good. He's a really talented player. Again, had an insane season at BC this past year. Good week at the Senior Bowl as well. Long arms are going to help him, even though he's a little bit shorter. But yeah, really, really good fit there in Tennessee. Jags at 36. Another guy who had a great Senior Bowl. Maybe the best offensive lineman there, Gray Zabel. He's likely going to be a guard or center, right? But probably a guard. It's a great fit here for the Jags. You need to upgrade your offensive line in general. Zabel is an awesome fit. Another one of these North Dakota State offensive linemen that are just NFL ready. I think he's going to be a plug-and-play starter. Raiders at 37. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. Jackson Dart. Okay, I don't see it. I'm going to say that. But a mock draft is what I think will happen. And right now, Jackson Dart's got a lot of steam. I don't necessarily see it. He was highly productive in the Ole Miss offense with, Lane made super, super easy. Lane Kiffin is a fantastic offensive mind. Receivers were just wide open. I don't think there's anything special with his ball placement. I don't think he even had a good week at the Senior Bowl. Some people are saying it. I don't really know why. It's kind of weird. The reports about Jackson Dart right now are insane. So I am biting here a little bit. I definitely don't see it in the first round, but teams are desperate for quarterback. The Raiders pass early and take a high character guy here at 37. Everyone says great leader. Guys follow him. Great work ethic. He's a good athlete. Decent arm, but everything else at quarterback is maybe not so great, but you're throwing a dart here. This is a real dart throw. And I didn't actually realize what I did. That was an accident. But it really is. This is a shot in the dart. That one was on purpose. But if you can develop him, you have a starter-level quarterback. Just right now, he's not. So it's a dart throw. I'm going to keep saying that. And now I really like that terminology. Raiders need a quarterback. They're desperate. And can't spell desperate without dart. All the letters are in there. The Patriots at 38. I'm trying to move on from that incredible bit. Gonna go Donovan Jackson. Jackson was already a decent guard prospect. After Josh Simmons went down to injury, They kicked Donovan Jackson out to left tackle, and he was good against some really talented pass rushers as well, because he was playing tackle, learning tackle on the fly, really. And the pass rushers he was facing were in the college football playoff. There are some decent ones, of course, at Notre Dame. There are some real good ones at Oregon. Well, you have Birch, but also the incredible Mateo Uiagalelei, brother of DJ. Really, really good player. And Donovan Jackson really held his own against some of these top guys. I think there's a chance he ends up going in the first round. Patriots get him at 38 and maybe stick him at tackle. It's not like this is a small guy. I think he's got 34-inch arms at 6'4". He might be able to stick out at tackle. Bears at 39. Speaking of might be able to stick out at tackle, but maybe better on the inside, we're going to do kind of the same idea of what we did at number 10 for the Bears, taking Will Campbell. Still go offensive line and go with Marcus Bowe from Purdue. Is he a right tackle? Is he a guard? Can he play center? He's probably interior offensive lineman at the next level, but maybe try him at tackle. Unlikely here in Chicago, but depending on what team drafts him, obviously that could change. But likely a guard here. Got to protect Caleb Williams. Obviously, we're making this a priority. And with a pick at number 10, 39, and 41, you're in prime position to do so. I would say this top of the second round is prime O-line position because you're looking at, just from what's available now, Milam, Savaiinaya, in terms of developmental tackles, Cam Williams, Ariante Ursary, Trapilo's got a ton of potential. Willie Lampkin's like a fullback. He's like Pat Ricard. He's like 5'11", 290. He might even be closer to 5'10", honestly, but can play and block his ass off. Fun player. Had a fun week down in Mobile as well. At number 40, have the Saints. It's a player I really would like to get off the board earlier, but I struggle to find spots for the safeties. I mean, Starks fell to 27. At number 40, I'm going with Nick Eamon-Wari from South Carolina. What a special player. How is he available? My thought is that the NFL just doesn't value safeties. We've seen it a lot. Eamon-Wari, though, I think has a chance to be a special one. He's 6'3", close to 230, with incredible movement skills and ball skills. Can really come down and hit. He's an awesome player. Is he going to be the single high guy? Is he going to be that center fielder? Unlikely. But as a strong safety, as a box player, as someone that can play over the top, but I think he's especially good at carrying routes down the field, this is a really, really good player. And the Saints, who need to upgrade safety, get an unbelievable steal here, potentially at 40. Bears at 41. I love the edge rushers that have made it here. I love them. Could also consider running back, and I think that makes a ton of sense with Ben Johnson coming in. But I think you need to upgrade your defensive line, and the edge rushers that are available here are pretty good. I'm going to go Ole Miss edge rusher Princely Uman Mielen. Not to be confused with his brother, just transferred to Ole Miss, Princewell Uman Mielen. He's kind of a freak. He's good against the run. He's really good as a pass rusher. He's got very good size, long arms, explosiveness. He's a first-round type player here in this class. What holds him back, you ask? Well, the character is not great. He's tried to fight fans, and I don't mean just from the field. I mean after the game, like charging out of the stadium and up the ramp to try and fight fans. He's a little insane. Maybe you like that in a pass rusher. Could be weird. It is something to consider. But the traits here are first-round traits, and the Bears get him at 41. Jets at 42. Going to go Ben Morrison. Just here at 42. I think maybe injury drops him a little bit, falls out of the first round, but talented cornerback prospect with starter potential, with size to play on the outside. Good fit with Sauce Gardner. And it's defense there for the Jets, who just kind of looked to hit the reset button a little bit. Don't know what we're doing at quarterback there if you're a Jets fan. Could use more playmakers on offense at wide receiver, tight end. Just not going to happen here at 42 for me. Niners at number 43. Going with a developmental pick that I've given them in the first round before, I'm going Cameron Williams from Texas. Hook him. He's got great potential. He's got unreal movement skills for his size and loves a good penalty. I mean, the guy's just committing penalties all day. false starts are regular with Cameron Williams, but he does not have to start right away. Get him developing under one of the best tackles in the history of the NFL in Trent Williams. That's just true. He's a Hall of Famer. He is maybe the best left tackle to ever do it. Little recency bias there, but I mean, the accolades are incredible for Trent Williams. He's been one of the best players in the NFL. Cameron Williams, nearly young enough to be his son, probably. It's close. It's not quite there, but anyway, you can develop him. He is a moldable piece of clay where if it works out, he's going to be an absolute steal here at 43. There's a chance he's not a steal, but you're hoping to develop him, and I think the Niners will be able to do that. At number 44, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb Johnson feels like a really good fit here. One of the best running backs, if not the second best running back the entire draft. You have Rico Dowdle, who's a free agent and is going to be like 27, 28 years old. It's time to get younger, and Johnson is just a freak. I mean, he's like 225 pounds. Had a great season at Iowa. Really, really fun player. And the Cowboys are committed to offense here under Brian Schottenheimer with tackle and now potentially guard and halfback. At number 45, the Indianapolis Colts. Going with a player that just seems to fit their mold. That's Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. Ballard loves his athletes. Harrison's a really good athlete with cover skills, was playing hurt. I think he's going to end up going pretty high in the draft, top 50, and goes here at 45 to the Colts. Just feels like a good fit. I think he's going to test well. Falcons at 46. So originally I had Trey Amos here, the corner from Ole Miss. I'm tempted to switch that up on the fly, and I think I'm not going to do that. I was almost going to. The other option there that I really considered was UCLA's Carson Schwarzenegger, but we are going to go Trey Amos from Ole Miss. Get an upgrade there on the boundary. It's a need on the other side of A.J. Terrell. I like what they have in the slot, though. At number 47, have the Arizona Cardinals. If you want a refresher, earlier went with Walter Nolan, upgraded the interior defensive line. Here, we're going to go to the offensive line. Did I say offense? Upgraded the interior defensive line earlier. Now going offensive line. Some great options to play guard. I'm going to go Jonas Inaya from Arizona. Keep him in state. I think I've had him in the first round of them before. Keeping him in state. Doing the same thing here, but at 47. Value gets a lot better for a guy that could play tackle if you needed him to. But I think he's going to be a really solid guard. Dolphins at 48. Keeping him in state as well, actually, in the city. It's Elijah Arroyo to the Miami Dolphins. I do think they need to get bigger and stronger in the trenches, and that's not Elijah Arroyo. He's a big vertical threat tight end that had a great season, was unguardable at the Senior Bowl, 6'4", 245, but easy fluid mover with good hands and really, really good overall speed at tight end to run away from defenders. He's a good route runner. He's an ultimate receiving threat tight end here that could end up going higher than this. There are guys that think he could end up sneaking into the first round. Arroyo in this Miami offense, I think he's going to be tough to turn down if you're Mike McDaniel. I do think they need to get bigger and more physical. Well, upgraded the O-line, and now kind of getting one of those more fun pieces. Arroyo here at 48, keeping him in the city. At number 49, another kind of cheesy selection here, I'm not going to lie to you. Al Golden, Notre Dame defensive coordinator, took the job with the Cincinnati Bengals. And guess who's here? It's Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. He's bringing him with him. I think this is a range where he's going to be available. The Bengals could use an upgrade in their secondary, upgrade the pass rush with Mike Green at 17. Now it just makes a ton of sense to go Watts in the back end. I think safety is upgradable for the Bengals. Receiver could be a different problem if T. Higgins is gone. Io Manor makes sense there. Besh makes sense there. Savion Williams, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris. Somebody to add some size into that receiving room. And who knows about Jermaine Burton. But opting to go safety here, upgrading that defense, giving Golden some actual pieces to work with. That offense, I think, under Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase finds a way. Watts here, instinctive safety at 49. Seahawks at 50. Well, this is an interesting spot because we took Armand Bembou at 18. And at number 50, I'm tempted to go offensive line again because it's such a position of need for Seattle. I think edge is in play. I think linebackers in play. I think corner even or something in the secondaries in play. I think receivers in play. Receivers really actually in play here, but I might double dip and go with another versatile offensive lineman that can play guard. Wyatt Milam is probably a guard. You take him here at 50. Now you've taken back-to-back offensive linemen that can play tackle. Membu is certainly a better fit to stick at tackle, but can play guard. Milam, I think, is a guard, maybe even a center. I know it's not exactly the John Schneider MO to take these guys high in the draft. That's why we wait a little bit and take them at 50. You've got to upgrade the offensive line. It is a bad group there in Seattle. At 51, Tampa Bay Bucks going Jack Sawyer. He's just available. Need to upgrade that pass rush. Sawyer really came on strong. He's a solid player. A lot of these edge rushers here available are solid. Like JT Tuimoloau is solid. These guys are good players. I think they're going to be good pros, good starters. But how high in the draft do those guys go? The draft is really done based on traits and potential a lot of the time. Landon Jackson thinks has a ton of potential, but Sawyer there is the pick at 51. Good fit, I think, there in Tampa as well. At 52, have the Denver Broncos after taking Colston Loveland. Going to go more offense. Their defense was great, and I think Travion Henderson is actually a really good fit there in Denver. Could see some other running backs go off the board before him. Well, obviously, I'm saying of the players still available, depending on what happens. But Henderson feels like a really good fit there in Denver. He's got breakaway speed at running back, can block, can catch. Feels like a great fit in that Sean Payton offense. Henderson I like him there at 52 a lot. Steelers at 53. It's whatever. Steelers fans, a lot of them are annoying on Twitter, I'll tell you that. So I don't even feel that bad doing this, but the backlash here is going to be insane. Either way, at 53, we're going to turn the card for quarterback Jalen Milroe. Okay. He's a project. I don't really like Jalen Milroe that much. But the fact remains that the Steelers do need a quarterback, and this is a dart throw at 53. He is supremely athletic. What are you drafting here right now? Justin Fields. That's essentially what you're drafting. Cheap Justin Fields. And at 53, I think it makes sense. Look at what the Eagles did years ago with Jalen Hurts around the same range. He was able to develop into exactly what the Eagles needed him to be. Is he this dynamic passer? No. He can't really throw over the middle of the field either. Doesn't really get the ball out on time. But is a good athlete that can run and has a good deep ball as well. I'm describing Jalen Milroe. Not to say that he's Jalen Hurts, because he's not as strong maybe as Jalen Hurts, but is way more explosive, faster, and I think a better overall arm. Milroe's got potential. He's not that good right now. He's got potential. And hey, you know what? You need receiver anyway. Jalen Milroe maybe is an option there. We know the Steelers don't really mind small hands at the quarterback position either. You'll remember Kenny Pickett. But Milroe, he's got potential. These guys do end up going around this range. Someone's going to take Jalen Milroe, I think, on day 2. Happens to be the Steelers here at 53. They need a quarterback. He's cheap. Upside-wise, it's about as good as anybody in this draft. At number 54, have the Chargers getting weapons for Justin Herbert. Is it going to be a receiver? Is it going to be a tight end? This tight end class is really quite good. I really like Gunnar Helm, and I think he's a great fit there with the Chargers. He can block. I think that's a big plus for Jim Harbaugh. He can catch. He's another one of these easy movers. Not as good of an athlete as an Elijah Arroyo or even a Mason Taylor, but the thing that differentiates Gunnar Helm, he can block and do so at a high level. And he's also a good receiving threat. Had a breakout season for Texas. Gunnar Helm's no slouch. He's a really, really good player. I don't care what the PFF run block grade says. Talk to actual scouts, and you watch Gunnar Helm. The guy can block. So, goes here at 54. Great fit there for the Chargers. I'm trying to find good fits. At number 55, have the Green Bay Packers. Tyleik Williams is just available. He's cheap. He's a body on the interior. I know they need to upgrade their pass rush, but it seems like they like their edge rushers. They like Lucas Van Ness. They like Rashawn Gary. They like Brenton Cox Jr. for the future. They've got options. Maybe coaching was the issue. They're bringing in a new defensive line coach. Maybe that's going to make a big time difference. But on the interior, you could certainly use some more bodies. Kenny Clark's not getting any younger. Devontae Wyatt's going to be an expiring contract in the near future, although he's been okay. Tyleik Williams there, great against the run, and has a little bit of pass rush upside as well. At number 56, I have the Buffalo Bills. I like the idea of going Landon Jackson at this spot. He's a big body that has some pretty good overall athleticism. I think he's learning how to be a pass rusher, but he's got draftable traits high. So much so that I could see him going in the first round, a la like Peyton Turner type of deal, or top of the second round, like Logan Hall to the Bucs a couple of years ago. Jackson falls to 56, and the Bills get a potentially good one. Pass rusher on the inside, but he's more of an edge guy. So I think that's what you're drafting here for Landon Jackson at 56. Texans at 57. I think you want to upgrade offensive line. I just struggle to find the value because a lot of them are kind of going off the board. With that being said, there are some guys that you could potentially draft, but I think Trapilo's a tackle. I think Ursay's a tackle. So who are you taking to play guard here? A lot of these guys kind of just went off the board all in a row, and it's tough to know, okay, who would you actually take at this range? I think they made up to take the best interior defensive lineman available, and with Alfred Collins, with TJ Sanders, that just might be the direction they go. And you got to remember, free agency exists. Trey Smith would be a great pickup for Houston from the Chiefs if he becomes available, which it's likely he's going to be. I think guard is going to be something you upgrade in free agency. They like Blake Fisher at right tackle. They have Laramie Tunsil. I don't know who they're taking here at 57 for the interior. We'll see what happens, but a lot of those guys are off the board now. At 58, have the Panthers. Going to go with JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. High floor player. Solid pass rusher, can set the edge. You took kind of a little bit of a gamble with Jalen Walker here at number 8. Just a solid player off the edge here in JT Tuimoloau. JTT. Ravens at 59. A Michigan tackle falling into their lap. Michigan. Minnesota. I'm thinking of, I don't know why I said Michigan, but a Minnesota tackle falling into their lap. Later down the board here. Well, Daniel Fa'alele teams up with Ariante Ursay. Ursay, I think, is a good fit here for Baltimore. Another potential falling star that has potential. And you look at tackle for the future for the Ravens, it's a little bleak, especially with the injury history for Ronnie Stanley. I like Rosengarten, but Ursay is your developmental tackle to eventually start. I don't think Fa'alele is a starting left tackle ever. At number 60, have the Detroit Lions. Here we are going to get him off the board. It's UCLA linebacker Carson Schwetzinger. Undersized, but offers you some great coverage ability, big time speed. I think he's a good fit there with the Lions at 60. Commanders at 61, going with a receiver. I know Commanders fans might have flashbacks of a TCU receiver, but I'll tell you what. He had a great week at the Senior Bowl. He's one of the better receivers in this class. It's Jack Besh. He is a solid player with good hands, good size. He's not Josh Doxson, and you're not taking him in the first round. It's a good receiving option to give Jaden Daniels here at 61. Bills at 62, going with Alfred Collins, upgrading the interior defensive line. Gone receiver, edge, and now beefing up the interior. Collins added a lot of weight and was a force in 2024 for the Longhorns, 6'5", 320. Great run defender with pass rush upside. This guy was a highly recruited player for Texas that is really just getting better and better and better as the years goes on, finally living up to his potential as the years go on. Eagles at 63. Going with a tight end, Mason Taylor. I think they could use an upgrade at tight end too, but with the injury history and the contract situation for Dallas Goedert, I think tight end's something they would consider here in this range. And I know a lot of people love Mason Taylor. It's hard not to because he's got such great hands. He's a technician as a route runner. He's got very good size. doesn't really drop the football, and can block a little bit. He really is trending towards being a complete tight end at 6'5", 255 with his type of movement and receiving ability. He's a great fit there for Philly at 63. As we get to the Chiefs at 64 to round us out, a lot of different options we could go here. There are definitely some good players still on the board, but I'm going to go with the Senior Bowl standout, Darius Alexander from Toledo. It is probably earlier than he's going to go. Just admittedly, it probably is. However, when I see a guy that is not undersized with 34-inch arms, with a pass rush bag, I know he's played at a small school, but I see a guy that's going to go top 100. So last pick of the second round for a team that's looking to add pass rush help on the interior, it feels like a really good fit. It's a talented interior defensive line class in general, but Alexander's got big time potential, man. He has enough size and definitely is a good pass rusher. I think there's something here. So is this a little bit early for him? Maybe, but I think you have something there. That's going to do it for the 2-round mock draft, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.